the promise to secure the rights, choices, and dignity of all. And as I see it, it is the most natural thing in the world to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. May I invite to the podium Her Excellency Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, Majesties, Royal Highnesses, ladies and gentlemen, and especially the young people in our audience today. I'm really pleased to join with you in this celebration. We're here to reignite, accelerate, and keep the promise made at the landmark international conference, Population and Development, held in Cairo 25 years ago. The bold, rights-based vision of the ICPD that development must put people first, that access to health, education, and human dignity must be equal for all persons, informed the bold vision of the 2030 Agenda. In this current age of urbanization, increased migration, population growth, and an aging population, the ICPD Programme of Action has never been more relevant for people, especially our girls and our women. As accelerators for the Sustainable Development Goals, the outcomes of the Programme of Action must be carried forward. Our common framework for people, for planet, for prosperity, peace, and partnership depends on it. Achieving gender equality and women's empowerment and upholding women's rights is a game changer for poverty reduction, inclusive growth, democratic governance, peace, and justice. The Sustainable Development Goals cannot and will not be achieved until women, girls, and young people are able to control their bodies and their lives and live a life free from fear and from violence. The power to choose the number, timing, and spacing of children is a human right that can bolster well-being, economic, and social development. And when people can exercise their rights, they thrive, and so do societies at large. When these rights are denied, people's ability to achieve their full potential is constrained, and economic and social progress is impeded. And that's why governments must invest in human capital throughout the life course, from birth to older age, and particularly in helping children and adolescents to develop their full potential. This also means giving young people a place at the table to contribute to the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of policies and programs, such as those that are related to job creation, employment, and in the end, the fulfillment of their aspirations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we take stock of the progress towards 2030, we've made huge progress, and let's actually congratulate ourselves for that on this last 25 years of the journey. But we know that the situation is clear and that we're far from where we need to be, that too many are being left behind, unable to enjoy their rights and their aspirations. Their stories highlight the pervasive injustice of inequality. And they are the stories of the poorest amongst us, of the indigenous, the rural and marginalized peoples and communities who face the greatest gaps in services. And that is why the Secretary General recently responded to the global call of our member states for a decade of action to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, and so too keep the promise of the Programme of Action. In addition to the anniversaries of the ICPD, the Beijing Women's Conference next year will mark the 75th anniversary of the United Nations and the 20th anniversary of the adoption of the Security Council's Resolution 1325 on women, peace, and security. The Nairobi Summit is one of the first opportunities to heed this call and to mobilize the needed political and financial momentum. Since the founding of UNFPA 5 decades ago, its leadership, and I want to thank especially my sister Natalia for her incredible leadership, her energy, her passion in getting us to Nairobi. The operational work of all its members of staff, far and wide, have been instrumental in expanding access to sexual and reproductive health care, in preventing and responding to gender-based violence, in tackling FGM and early marriage, and empowering our young people. We must continue to work even harder towards preventable maternal and child mortality, achieving unmet needs for family planning and eliminating violence and harmful practices against our women and girls everywhere, not least in humanitarian and fragile settings. As a result, the coming 18 months will be a pivotal period for assessing progress, evaluating where we are lagging behind, protecting our gains, and accelerating this transformative change. This must be reinforced by a high-quality availability of data and analysis to support the evidence-based policies and programs that we must put in place. In the spirit of the ongoing UN development reforms, coordinated support and action from the UN country teams will be instrumental in delivering on the promise of the ICPD Women and Girls. Our UN resident coordinators, in tandem with UNFPA country offices, are spearheading efforts to build consensus and catalyze action around national commitments to empower girls, women, their families, and their communities. These country efforts are supported by the SG's Every Woman, Every Child initiative, which is a catalytic multi-stakeholder platform that places women, children, and adolescents at the center of sustainable development. Building on the robust partnerships, such as that of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Family Planning 2020, She Decides, Women Deliver, and it goes on, UNFPA is also working with young people to mobilize new partnerships for a new era to deliver on that promise. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we've got unfinished business in pursuing rights and choices for all. Hundreds of millions of women and girls are still waiting for the promise to be kept, and they've been waiting long enough. It's time for urgent and transformative change as we enter the decade of action. We're all encouraged by the energy, the activism, and solidarity that we've seen in our recent travels and as we meet and we work towards the promise. Amazing women and men, young and old, pushing for equality, pushing for inclusion, pushing for transformation and change. That time has come, and I am confident that with the full commitment of each of us here, we can succeed in ensuring that women and girls are truly at the heart of the sustainable development and that the promise is kept. So, Nairobi, are we ready to keep the promise? I can't hear you. Are we ready to keep the promise? Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you for that. Her Excellency Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, for that spirit. And now I'd like to welcome to make his remarks His Excellency Rasmus Prehn, Minister for Development Cooperation, Denmark.
Excellencies, heads of states or government, presidents, prime ministers, first ladies, royalty, ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen.